since I was this big, Grand Valley's been winning games, winning championships, and I'm right up the street to see it. So I'm like, that's where I wanted to go. Didn't know if they would even take me, but probably ended up being, the best decision of my life.
What is a professional team getting on their roster when they pick you up?
They're not only getting a defensive playmaker, but they're getting a guy that's going to make the locker room better. I help make my teammates better. I help my teammates in any way they can, whether it's with linebacker advice or special team advice. So I just want to make sure that teams know they're getting a real team character guy.
Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. This is D1R 196 on the night of March 31st. Remember, when this goes out tomorrow, don't believe anything on the internet except for this. This is a normal episode. I just now thinking about it, maybe I could have done like a fun planned deal, and it's not to say I won't on the socials for D1 Rejects, but this episode for us is business as usual, and what I mean by that is we've got two more great guests joining me tonight, the first of which, an All-American linebacker and a guy who has got two of them that have got some real shots to play professional football here out of the GLIAC. One from Saginaw Valley State, that being linebacker Micah Cretsinger, and then another offensive lineman from Grand Valley State, Gabe Brown. And so a great rivalry series. I believe they kind of refer to it as the Battle of the Valleys between GV and SVSU. So really excited to have both those guys on the show tonight, respectively, talking to both of them. Then we've got kind of one big-time talking point and another kind of fun story for you tonight. St. Francis University has officially announced they're transitioning from Division I to Division III. Now, that news broke a week ago on Monday, and it was literally after we just produced, put out our last episode. I guess Tuesday would have been when it came out. It was right when we had recorded and put out our most recent episode, so I did not get to cover it last week. Definitely going to be talking about St. Francis in this episode, going from Division I to Division III. A ridiculous move. Going to talk you through all the information and what it means for the student athletes, for the conferences, for the school, the athletic teams. Otherwise, though, kind of a fun story coming out of Division II. We've got a D2 school in Colorado, that being the Orediggers from Colorado Mines. They're hiring drone pilots to film practice in games. Hiring FAA-certified drone pilots. So something I scrolled across on the Twitter space the other day, looked into it, have a little bit more information for you. I think it's a fun little story and something that we can definitely expect to see from more teams across the country. But as always, you can watch this episode on YouTube if you are. Don't forget, bottom of the video there, that red line with the video chapters. Fast forward to any part of the video you think sounds interesting. Otherwise, listen pretty much anywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. Follow us on the socials. Just hit 14K on Instagram. And found out that some people really don't like AI. I thought those little AI pictures that we put up on our Twitter and Instagram were really fun. Definitely go check those out. It's just a chat GPT thing, turning guys into little anime characters. Harmless, fun. Apparently, I'm the bad guy. That's okay. I like making the fun content. So let's get right into this episode with the first interview of the night. Micah. Joining the show tonight, he's a two-time All-American for the Cardinals from Saginaw Valley State. He's a linebacker, just put on a hell of a pro day performance. Now he's looking to earn his way onto a professional roster. Micah Cretsinger, what's going on, brother?
What's going on? Thanks for having me on tonight.
Dude, excited to get you on here. You're a guy that I can kind of say I've unfortunately had to follow the last couple of years, and what you've done to my Wildcats has been concerning, to say in the least. But as a lover of good football, you are a fun person to watch out on the field, and you've definitely made an impact down there at Saginaw, man. I think you know that.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, I had to, I took a step away, after the season was over and just kind of, thought about everything that happened. And, yeah, I was like, wow, I was able to accomplish so much, even though we didn't hit our end goal as being a GLIAC champion or a national champion.
Yep.
It was still cool though to have those accolades and still having the individual accolades and success. And no, that was awesome and cool. But I'm a winner, so it kind of agitated me a little bit.
Absolutely. No, and it should. You know what I mean? If you want to play at the highest level, it absolutely should. And you guys gave some really good fights in a couple of those games, talk about especially in the GLIAC, but that's not enough, right? For anyone that wants to compete like that, that's certainly not enough. But I want to talk about you, this pro day performance that you put on, man. And I talk about a guy who moves the way you move, but then can go throw up 29 reps on the bench press, That is incredibly impressive in a lot of books. And talk about that pro day experience. What areas did you emphasize when it came to their preparation? And were there a couple numbers or metrics that you know you needed to, quote unquote, check the boxes of different scouts or personnel at the pro level?
I really just wanted to showcase that I was an all-around athlete, because I know there were concerns that I wouldn't be able to run fast or fast enough, or I wouldn't be able to move well enough, just because of the mantra that it's a D2. But
Sure.
definitely felt like I checked off good numbers on my bench. I was happy with that. I felt like I could have jumped higher. I had jumped higher during training, so uh, I was still a little short on that. Like it was okay, but definitely would have jumped like to jump a little higher. Would have loved to run faster, of course. Um, yeah, but I feel like overall the whole pro day, it went good. Like it was a good, solid overall pro day, and I was able to show that I can hang with anyone.
Amen. And you're repping Impact tonight. Talk about what they've done in this preparation process for you, man.
Yeah, shout out to Jim Kielbasa and Impact Sports Performance. They were really good with the technique on the 40 and the shuttles and the three cone, and um, they were very social, and they understood like how to work with everyone, and everyone needs to work on certain things. They knew everyone's journey is different, and yeah, they were awesome. Had a great group of guys working there too. I know some D1 reject guys like Bimba
Hell yeah.
and my boys from Northwood. So Caleb Coleman, Jason Williams, Alfred Daly. I might as well give all of them a shout out. But
Absolutely, bro.
uh, yeah, no, definitely happy to put up that kind of pro day. Just showing that I can do every little bit of everything.
Yeah, you definitely did. And you know, everyone's going to wish they ran a tenth of a second faster or jumped 2 inches higher, but you put it on tape, you put it on film, and now you've put it onto the checklist, so to speak. And to work out with a group of guys like that coming from similar situations who stack up pretty comparably when it comes to a lot of those accolades, you probably being at the top of those lists, it's got to be a great motivating piece being with those guys. But let's talk about your time at SVSU. You had cited a phrase. I like this one from you. Completing your circle. That was the quote when you talked about coming back to Saginaw, finishing your career where you started it and leaving a lasting impact on this program, not testing the portal for a bigger opportunity, which I'm sure a guy in your shoes could have earned. Where does that phrase come from? What does it mean to you?
So right before the season, I had some support in my corner, just telling me, "Hey, you got to complete your circle." He wants to stay anonymous, so
Okay,
I won't reveal his name,
respect
but
it.
uh, he said, "Just got to complete your circle." He had heard that from Coach D'Antonio, and then he just kind of kept installing into other people. But I really did feel like there was something that I left out on the field, just because you want to be the ultimate winner and for your team and for a school that took you in, when you didn't really have that many opportunities.
Yeah.
Like you just want to give everything you have, and then having my success was also a big reason why I wanted to stay. Like being able to have that mantra, two-time All-American, and then uh, be able to have that GLIAC champion or national champion else behind it. I felt like we had the team to do it. So
Mhm.
um, you know, I don't regret my decision at all. Like I love being up here with my team. I love my program, love the culture that we built here. Uh, I had a couple teammates from my 2019 class still here with me, and Alfred Daly and Leonard Henry, and even the guys before the season before my junior year. Like we still had about 6 or 7 guys from that 2019 class. So um, like we had
That's
a long
rare,
time
man. That's
together.
rare. Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, I could talk about those guys all day, but no, I love my time at Saginaw. I couldn't thank any of those coaches enough. Coach Prudhomme and Coach Brady for sure.
And obviously, you believe that Saginaw has the ability, has the potential to go and get over those proverbial hurdles and achieve those goals. What does it take for that Cards team in the near future here? What's it going to take for them to climb on top and take over the GLIAC and earn a spot in the national playoff and go and earn a chance to compete for some of those larger team goals?
We just got to finish games. I
Yeah.
mean, it's as simple as that. We had some missed opportunities when we played like this past season, but I feel like once they clean up those opportunities, they're gonna make a big run. Mason McKenzie, that guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Like
There
I
you go.
can't talk enough about that guy. So him, they got a good defense. Saginaw always usually has a good defense. So I'm excited to see all those guys perform, and yeah, I feel like they're going to be another year mentally prepared. So they're going to make a big run. I feel like, in my opinion.
Another big name coming from those ranks. We just had Trev Nowaski on the show last week, man, and talk about a guy who you get to share the field with in your time there. He obviously going through his journey now, being able to re-sign with the Lions. Talk about, this team now and the place you're at, the GLIAC as a conference, having this reputation for putting players at the next level, whether that is the NFL or elsewhere. How much of an influence was that on your decision to stay, knowing that you would still have those eyes on you? And talk about your experience playing with Trevor, man.
So like playing with Trevor, Trevor was a guy that came in every day, especially his senior year, and just did everything right. He ate the right way, he trained the right way, and then you could tell like from his athletic performance, like he got way more explosive, he got way faster, like he got noticeably bigger. So then you see that happen in the off season, and I'm a young guy trying to make my way as a starter that year, and so then he kind of takes off, has a great senior season, and I'm still kind of rotating in where he's getting a lot of snaps. So we got to see him play a lot and see him ball out, and he just literally did everything right up until his pro day. Again, same thing, did everything right, ate the right way, trained the right way, and yeah, and then you see where he's at now. So none of that is a surprise to me because you see a guy work that hard and be that athletic and have the athleticism. Um, that guy was bound to succeed. So it was awesome being able to see that. And then in my journey, um, that's what kind of was my inspiration is because he was able to do it, and just seeing how hard he worked, and then I felt like I have a little bit more um, that I can unlock in my game just because I learned from him and guys like Victor Abraham and Tim Kid Glass as well, and
Mm-hmm.
you know I had good role models and good people in that room, so I feel like that definitely helped in my game and being able to be the best version of myself I could be.
That's the goal, man. Ultimate goal. You're right. You had some good people around you, but you can have the best people in the world and still mess it up. So you're doing something right over there. You've definitely got some good things going, and a big part of your game that speaks out, man, is 10 interceptions, which is a pretty wild number. And again, a lot of those coming against the Cats, which hurt watching that one. But a lot of those also going the other way for 6. And that's something where you grab that ball, there's a good chance you're not going down until it's in the opponent's end zone. How do you generate those numbers? How do you feel that statistic specifically has separated you from maybe some of the other backers in this class?
It definitely makes me different, and say every time I get the ball in my hands, I got like there's an opportunity to score because I played offense in high school, so like just getting the ball and scoring touchdowns is always like kind of my thing. So like now I just apply it to defense because I do my film studies, and I just have a knack for the ball. So thankfully, God gave me two great hands to go up, grab the ball, snag the
Yeah, yeah.
ball, and then I just have a way to go and score. So nah, it's like one of my favorite things getting a pick six. So yeah. If I
And you
get a
got to
pick six
live
every
that
year, it'll be
moment a
awesome.
lot, right? And you watch back the tape, and it happened to get some big time games. You go back to the Axe Bowl game against the Timberwolves from Northwood, and some of these big time GLIAC foes. It feels like these moments and these plays come against really prominent foes, and you're there every step of the way. How do you rise to the occasion?
I feel like I always play my best games in rivalry games. So like when my team needs me to step up and make a play, I feel like I'm always that guy that could step up and make a play, or set a guy up to make a play himself. Like if I gotta
Yeah,
take a block inside, and I know I can trust my safety Eli Gordon out there, I'd
stud.
say, yeah, let him go make a play, the Midland Missile. So, um, yeah,
Hey, well said. Well said. No, absolutely, man. I know where you're going with that, and I'm excited to follow you along whatever this next stage looks like for you. I want to know from your perspective, though, what is a professional team getting on their roster when they pick you up?
they're not only getting a defensive playmaker, but they're getting a guy that's going to make the locker room better. I help make my teammates better. I help my teammates in any way they can, whether it's with linebacker advice or special team advice. So I just want to make sure that teams know they're getting a real team character guy, and not just a D2 guy who feels like he only can play defense. I bring a lot to the table: defensive playmaking, leadership, great character.
I can attest from our little, 10, 12-minute convo here, I can attest. But also knowing some guys on the squad down there, like, they all think the same way, right? This is not just you and yourself. You've definitely made an impact on those guys down there. I want you to know that, and really excited to keep following you along, brother. That's all I got for you tonight, man. Pretty painless, huh?
Oh, definitely. I had a lot of fun. I like this show, so I want to do my best on it.
Micah, you're the man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your night, dude.
Sir, appreciate it.
See you. All right, big thank you to Micah for coming on the show. The big piece of what I wanted to talk about tonight, St. Francis University has officially announced they're transitioning from the Division I level all the way down to Division III. Not making a stop at D2, not going NAIA. They're cutting all athletic scholarships for their student athletes across, people think football immediately, of course. St. Francis has 22 varsity athletic teams, including 9 men and 13 women's teams across the board. So they announced that last week that they will be transitioning to Division III and joining the President's Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the PAC, in all of their NCAA sports. That is effective for athletics next fall, the fall of 2026. So right now, the teams will continue Division I competition through the summer of 2026. And then as soon as, I believe it is July 1 of 2026, that is when the conference, or the school, the university, switches over and officially becomes a Division III institution and also a full member with voting rights in the PAC. This kind of took the football world by storm, basketball as well. St. Francis just was in the NCAA tournament, March Madness, their Division I men's basketball program. So this news is coming off the heels of that. And I think the big question, first of all, is for the student athletes, and rightfully so. You have a plethora of student athletes at the Division I level receiving varying amounts of athletic financial aid. And now, basically, you're saying, due to this move, that's all gone? I think that was the impression that a lot of people had, is that all this money now is just being pulled away from these student athletes. Thankfully, that is not the case. If you do a little bit more reading, students who are currently on athletic scholarship can remain on scholarship until 2028 if they choose to stay. So I'm assuming the reasoning with that is to help them complete their degree, get some type of undergraduate degree. I'm not sure how they decided on that. And I am just happy they decided on that, though, because if you had just pulled away all that money, and this isn't the first team, by the way, that has done this, it won't be the last either, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first and foremost, the students who are currently on athletic scholarship can remain on scholarship until 2028 if they choose to stay. That's an official statement from St. Francis. But if a student athlete chooses to go to the transfer portal, then you think, okay, does all that go out the window? Thankfully not. They will not lose their roster spot or their aid if they choose to come back. So you can go out and test the waters in the portal, see if there's any interest from another division, from another Division I institution, D2 and IA, D3. Go out, gauge the portal, gauge your interest. If you don't maybe get the looks, the offers, the interest that you are looking for in going to the portal, you are more than welcome to come back to St. Francis. And not only is your spot on the team guaranteed, any type of athletic aid that you are on immediately goes back to you. So don't get me wrong, this move still had a lot of people scratching their heads, but those two facts right there at least makes me feel a lot better from the student-athlete perspective here at St. Francis. And a lot of them were rightfully so blindsided by this news. There's not a lot of heads up given to the staffs and their respective players, but the way they're going about this does look out for the student-athlete in a way that I think I can at least respect when it's all said and done. So, like I said, the teams will continue D1 competition through the summer of 2026. They have formally accepted an invitation from the PAC, the President's Athletic Conference. That schools, football-wise, you might know Washington and Jefferson, Grove City, formerly Carnegie Mellon, a couple others in there. But I got a couple quotes here from the official release that I think are worth talking about. The first of which says, quote, this is from, I believe, President and Rev, I'm assuming is Reverend Malachi Van Tassel. That's who's giving me the quotes here. Quote, Based on the changes in athletics nationally, it would be a disservice to our student athletes and athletic department staff not to review and assess how we can best provide the resources necessary for them to be competitive. So, digest that, let it marinate. What he's saying, without saying it, is that our funds and our abilities right now are not up to snuff with some of the other Division I institutions. That's what I'm getting from this. To review and assess how we can best provide the resources necessary for them to be competitive. So he's saying, again, indirectly, that maybe they do not believe they have the resources to provide their student athletes a competitive experience playing against other NEC member schools, other Division I opponents in March Madness, against maybe some of the other mid-major and Power 4 type opponents. They don't believe they have the necessary resources, which very much could be the truth. I'm not doubting that. That absolutely could be the truth. It's going to be a hard truth that a lot of mid-majors come to realize here in the near future. The other quote here, this is a long one, so bear with me here. I'm going to try and do it. Quote, "The board and I have been concerned about the student-athlete experience for many years. The geography of our conference is huge. Our student-athletes either travel to Chicago or to Boston or to points in between. That's a lot of time not spent on campus, developing friendships, or in the classroom. This change allows our students to be present on campus, lets their friends attend more of their home and away games, and this decision is about creating and maintaining community and allowing our student-athletes to thrive in the classroom and their chosen sport." So, that's been a big point, a big talking point of all these new media deals. I think the Big Ten is probably the most notorious when it comes to this kind of conversation. When you annex schools like USC and UCLA into the Big Ten, and now you've got teams with football, maybe not so much of a deal because that's obviously what drives these media deals. That's what moves the ticker, and that's what really brings in the money for these leagues and these conferences. But what about the softball teams? What about basketball? What about the volleyball teams that are playing multiple games a week? And now you're going from, you've got a team up in Rutgers that's got to go over to the West Coast to play at USC in the middle of the week and might miss an exam or might miss a quiz or a couple different classes. So I'm playing devil's advocate here. I haven't had to go through that. I didn't play at a high enough level where I'm doing all these, flying around the world type of thing. But I understand where this is coming from. In that this conference, the President's Athletic Conference, their geographic footprint, fits much more so than the NEC or really any other conference. I know there was some talk from people about the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, which is a really high-level D2 conference. I would have to imagine there were talks, just speculation, that there were talks about going to the PSAC. Why that was not the case, I have no idea. Could it be because a lot of those PSAC institutions are public institutions, whereas a lot of these PAC institutions are more private religious institutions, and that St. Francis thought maybe they fit better into a conference like this? Could absolutely be the case. Could it be that they don't think they have the funding to continue with athletic scholarships, even at the Division II level? That might be part of the problem as well. And I don't know if we'll ever really get clarification or closure on that remark, although I'm sure a lot of the student athletes would like that. But like I said, they become a full-time PAC member with voting and membership rights effective July 1st, 2025. They're the league's 13th full-time member. I talked about it earlier on. 22 varsity athletic teams they're bringing down. This is not just football and men's basketball. Everyone is making the transition to D3. They will not, however, be eligible for PAC championships or compete in conference championship tournaments in, here we go, basketball, soccer, volleyball, tennis, lacrosse, baseball, and softball, until they are approved for active Division III membership by the NCAA. So they're in that kind of process, the transition process right now. It has to be reviewed by the NCAA and such. You can imagine that all of that will go over well. The Red Flash programs in sports such as cross country, golf, swimming, and diving, and indoor and outdoor track and field will be able to compete at PAC championships starting in 2026 and 27, but will not be eligible for all conference recognition. I don't know who the hell makes the distinctions here. If you can compete, but you can't be an all-conference performer, some stupid rule written in a bylaw of an NCAA document somewhere hidden away. But there's all the info for you right there. Do with that what you will. And I think my last note, I mentioned it earlier on, before we get to the next interview here with Gabe, is that this will not be the last school that does this. This will not be the last mid-major or low-level D1 FCS kind of caliber program that makes the transition down. And whether that's moving to Division II to be more competitive, to have a more comparable experience, to have a smaller geographic footprint and still to provide athletic aid, whether that's moving outside of the NCAA's governing body entirely, being fed up with the things that are going on at the NCAA right now, and making a transition out to the NAIA. That's something that could certainly be a possibility for some of these schools. But this will not be the last time that a Division I school makes the transition down to a Division III university. I certainly don't think so. The way that college sports are trending right now, the way that there has never been such an urgency and such a need for outside funding to gain a competitive advantage in college athletics right now. And whether that's good, bad, or indifferent is up to the individual. That's not for me to say. But that fact alone certainly is the case. If you don't want to hear it from me, hear it from the Norfolk State head men's basketball coach who had some interesting thoughts on the topic.
You know, this is like Norfolk State Community College, because it's like when I say that, not because of the people or things like that, but it's just the way it is. JUCO coaches, I have so much more respect for them these days, because they have to get a new team every year or every 2 years or something like that, right? You know, now we got to get a new team every year, every 2. So we basically a glorified JUCO, because these kids, you know, until mid-majors, and not just Norfolk State, until mid-majors get the money that high majors have, we're never going to be able to keep kids here, you know, for a long time. I say it's easy to get them, it's hard to retain them. You know, you can get them because there's a lot of kids that want opportunities. A lot of kids want opportunities, but once they get the opportunity and then they blow up, it's harder to retain them because now the big boys are going to come.
It's easy to get them, and it's hard to retain them. And those words ring true for him and for many in this situation. And he talks about until the mid-majors have the same level of funding and competitive advantage as the top-level programs. Well, him and I both know, and you and I both know listening to this, that ain't going to happen, right? For better or worse, Norfolk State is not going to have the same level of funding when it comes to the college basketball world as a Villanova, as an Alabama, as a Creighton. I mean, go down the list, right? That's just not how college athletics works in the current state of the world. Now, with that being said, if there are some big-time alumni or some type of outside donor base that come and give an influx of money and they're spurred by this, that would be fantastic for the university, for the program. That's not going to happen across the country. There may be few instances, select instances where that is the case. But his sentiment rings true, and I think that's the reason you're going to see more of these transitions. So I'll leave it at that. Very interested to hear your thoughts on this move from St. Francis. What do you think could happen next? Are there other schools that you see potentially having to make this move? And, what do you think from this perspective of the student athletes? Right? That's a tough one. So let me know in the comments. Otherwise, let's get over to that next interview with the man himself, Gabe Brown. Also joining the show tonight, he's been a massive part of the dominant ground game we've come to associate with Grand Valley State. A first-team All-American, GLIAC Offensive Lineman of the Year. It's Gabe Brown. What's up, man?
What up, what up?
Excited to get you on here, man. Hell of a list of accolades for you. Perhaps the most impressive one, you grew an inch between your junior and senior year, according to the roster. That's big time.
Yeah. That was, I wish I grew an inch, man. I was trying to get
There it is.
Man, I might have grown probably about half an inch after between my sophomore year and junior year.
It's not impossible. It happens, right?
Yeah, so I thought I was a legit, 6'4" going to my junior year. So I'm
Good.
like, if you got any changes, write them down. Wrote them down. The roster come, I'm like, man, it's the same thing. So I made sure this year I was like, yo, bro, 6'4", 3 I gotta be there. I gotta have my right.
Good.
Measurement.
Good. You definitely, got to make the right first impression, especially, going on to play at the next level here. But you're a guy that, like I said, has all seriousness, has some great accolades at the college level. You've been a part of a lot of winning. And I think that goes unnoted in a lot of these talks. We talk a lot of pro days, talk a lot of 40s and broads and bench and all these things. How about winning at the college level, no matter the level, in a great conference? That's got to be a really underappreciated part of what you and all the guys over there do. How big of a part of a resume builder is that?
I mean, yeah, I think it's everything. I think you hit the nail on the head. This whole process before the draft is all about, pro day and numbers and all that stuff. All that stuff is good. All that stuff is cool. But, I'm a winner. People that come through Grand Valley were winners. And coming from, different college program and seeing like losing college program and seeing like the differences between a winning school and a losing school is monumental. I think is one of the biggest factors in what improved my game, my team. that culture, that championship culture is something you can't really teach. Or you can teach it, but it's something you're not born with. It's not like talent. It's not like the 40, all that stuff. It's,
Sure.
yeah.
No, absolutely. The right programs know how to do it, but those are few and far in between, and we know that at any level. And you had talked previously about your high school career, getting its start because someone else gone down with an injury at a time where you had a lot of experience, maybe on the diamond playing baseball, multi-sport guy in high school. Can we figure out who that person was, and can we coordinate a gift basket of sorts from GV for them going down with that injury and giving you an opportunity?
Yeah, so it was my boy Isaiah Jackson. He was a starting
Okay.
right tackle. He got hurt pretty bad in a jamboree. I was actually at the jamboree in the stands. I didn't join the football team technically until the first week of my senior year,
Yeah.
first week of the season. So, he went down. Got the call, but I had missed training. I called the coach. I'm like, "Yo, can I join?" He's like, "You missed summer stuff." Like, no, so I'm like, all right, probably JUCO baseball it is, but Isaiah went down, some change of plans, and then still had to earn it, had to go in and earn it. The learning curve, trying to learn the offense, was pretty quick, but yeah, he deserves something, man. He's a good dude anyway, a great
Hell yeah.
dude. Yeah, but definitely opened the door. He was a big time lacrosse player too, so
A lot of
yeah.
multi-sport guys there. I like that a lot. What were you doing on the diamond? Where were you at?
I was mainly pitcher, first base.
Okay.
My days early, play some third, play some short. But mainly pitcher, first base. Loved hitting, loved pitching. The field was cool too, but I probably would have ended up probably being a two-way type of guy in
I
college.
got you. What'd they have you
Um,
out on the gun?
so before my shoulder surgery, I had shoulder surgery.
Okay.
Summer of my sophomore year, I was hitting like 84, 85 was
Okay.
where I was stopping at. Probably sitting
Respectable.
81, 82
Yeah.
at that time. So on on that right trajectory, and shoulder surgery comes and
Yeah, man. As an underclassman, you're hitting those numbers. Those are legit. So that's I'm glad, and I'm sure you are glad that football definitely
uh,
worked out. There definitely might have been another other opportunity there for you. But
right.
yeah, you talk about, man, just fate or coincidence, whatever you want to call it, right? One thing like that, and the butterfly effect of how many different doors that is open for you and how many people you've met along the way. And now you talk about this journey is a really impressive deal. But you get your start not at GV but Bowling Green, of course, and made the decision to transfer to GV. Final 3 years. How do you reflect back on that decision? What kind of impact you feel you made being in front of one of the best offenses in D2 football, man? Going back and retrospectively looking back at this career you've had.
Yeah, so probably first of all, I say, some people call it fate stuff. I'm gonna call it God. He was looking out just even back then. Like my senior year, baseball got canceled, so it probably would have been hard for me to get in anywhere. But God put me on the field and made it to Bowling Green. It was quite the blessing. Playing football for 9, 10 weeks and then being at a D1 school.
Yeah,
Everything kind of fell in line. Yeah, guy was definitely looking out, getting me there, but definitely didn't feel like it was the right fit. Didn't feel like I was getting any better. Didn't feel like I was developing. I could deal with a lot of stuff, but I always want to be improving. So that was really hard for me. And I kind of knew before even the portal, I was like, I think it'd be awesome to go home, but like since I was this big, Grand Valley's been winning games, winning championships, and I'm right up the street to see it. So I'm like, that's where I wanted to go. Didn't know uh if they would even take me, but probably ended up being the best decision of my life. Got over there with Coach Wooster. I came in, he was the O line coach, so he was my O line coach. He really transformed me and completely changed the trajectory of my college career.
that's
Fell back
awesome.
in love with just being a hog again. So that was
Yeah.
awesome.
And so did you have a prior relationship with him when he was at Wayne State, it sounded like, maybe coming out of high school?
Yeah. So one of my brother's good friends, his name's Carl Roscoe. He played quarterback at Wayne State.
Mm-hmm.
When Coach Wooster was there. So when Wayne State came to Grand Valley and won it in 2019, won the shoes. He caught Coach Wooster come off the field. He's like, "Yo, I got this guy. My friend's little brother he just started playing, but he's looking pretty good." So they gave him my film, and then my high school strength coach, Marty Martins, probably owe my life to this dude. We used to go in there and just email people all day. He got in contact with with Coach Wooster from there. And I mean, that dude, he could probably sell the shoes on my feet for $500. But he's a good dude. He's honest. He could get um me in, at a lot of places. I'm really thankful for that. But he developed that relationship, introduced me to Coach Booster, and yeah, it took off from there. I was real close to going to Wayne State out of high school.
Yeah. No, as
So
someone who literally went through that same process in the year that you did and having those same conversations with Wooster, that was one of the things that I really appreciated out of him. He was very upfront, and a lot of coaches might string you along in that process. And for you, that recruiting process was so abbreviated, right? For a lot of guys that even have a chance or have that ability to go play Division I, that recruiting process might span a couple of years, a year and a half, where they're talking to schools and setting up visits. That process for you is so shortened. And so for him to be a part of that is, for him to even make time for that is big because there's so many other schools coming after you. But I definitely appreciated that out of Coach. He was a straight shooter, and he didn't leave you wondering. There was no gray area. You knew exactly where you stood with him, and I think a lot of guys respect that about Coach, and he still is that way from what I can tell to this day. Talk about how your relationship with him has grown and evolved, and obviously with his background being on the offensive side of the ball with the guys on the line of scrimmage, how that's helped develop you.
yeah, so when I first came in, it was, Coach Wooster, the position coach. And I think that's where our relationship really took off. I
Yeah.
mean, on the field, he was completely transforming me as an offensive lineman. But off the field, he calls it, man training to be a man. So, I mean, you never know what you're gonna get walking into the meeting. You're gonna get some great coaching in football, but you never know what kind of nugget or what kind of quote or what kind of, movie scene or life lesson
Yeah.
gonna teach you. So we knew that as an O line, but once Coach Mitch, who also loved, once he moved on, we all knew like there's no better person to take over. So that kind of transitioned into head coach Booster. We were still real tight. I mean, he brought me there. He brought me up to being a good player, but kind of getting to watch him, evolve into a head coach and doing what we were able to do his first couple years. Not getting the big goal, but establishing a pretty good culture. It was awesome to see him have the success that we knew he could have had.
Yeah, and I remember that reaction video, by the way, when it gets announced that he's the head coach, and the reaction from you guys was, I mean, just outrageous, right? A lot of those guys in that room were so pumped for him, and like you said, it does sound like a lot of those guys knew that was really the only true fit for where you guys were at, and to keep, at a program like you guys, the success that you've had, even if you haven't maybe climbed to the top, the summit of the mountain quite yet, there was so much good going on that keep it internal. Let's keep this thing going. Let's not bring in someone from the outside. We know what we have here, and it's something special. He definitely recognizes that. But for you, college football wasn't necessarily always in the cards. I'm curious, when did the idea of playing professionally start to creep into your mind?
Yeah, so I was a three-sport kid, baseball, basketball, football. Whatever season it was my favorite. Couldn't pick. I think at first it was football. That was, my dream was always to be a football player. And my dad he played at Southern University
Yep.
down in Louisiana. So, I wanted to be like my dad. And, it's funny how things work when you get into high school and you start to excel in some sports. Um, so I really just, wanted to take off with baseball. But I think after my sophomore year at GV, the idea started to creep back in my mind. From my experience at Bowling Green, I'm like, man, I'm just, I want to go somewhere and enjoy this time. But seeing what I was able to do, as a sophomore on the field, I was like, I think I can do this, and that's where I kind of recognized, like, I can do this. I can have a great career here and continue on. It doesn't have to be the end after college.
100%, man. I think you definitely figured that out the right way, and I'm glad that a lot of that, came internally. But what you do really well on the field is kind of a lot of different things, and I think your toughness and discipline at the line of scrimmage is certainly at the top of that list. In your eyes, what do you do that separates you from other people in this class?
For me, I think it's my feet. Obviously, like my I play in three sport. My brother and sister were the hoopers in the family, but I could hoop too. Don't get it
Okay.
twisted. Somebody bucket. You know what I mean? But I think it's that playing those multi sports and like doing stuff like dancing and different agility stuff, all that stuff. I think it's giving me great feet. Sometimes my feet can get me in trouble. I think they get me out of trouble way more than that happens.
Okay, I like that.
Obviously want to have the great, technique so you don't have to use that, the great feet or the athleticism, but it's awesome to have it when it needs to come in handy and recovering on some plays or just taking that block to the next level.
And you've been a versatile guy in college, playing really across the line, and I think that's a big part of your game at the college level. It sounds like professionally having you slotted in at playing guard is what seems to be the next step. Is that what fits your skill set best?
I would say so. Right now, been working on center too, be able to do it
Okay,
all.
that was the next one. That was the next question. Can we snap?
Yeah, so that was my first position way back when. So
Okay.
it was kind of like riding a bike, snapping again. Not gonna say that I'm all the way there. But I went out to the ETS headquarters and out in Minneapolis, worked with Chris Reed and JC Hausner. Both guys that have played center in the NFL. Got to watch some of their tape and they taught me the things to do, the things to work on. So, I got my homework. I'm doing that. But I'm also keeping up with, guard if that's where I do end up. I do love, pulling and being me in the three tech, all that stuff. So but yeah, trying to stay versatile, going to the next level. I know that can take me a long way.
It's anything that'll keep you on a roster, right? And for
Right,
a lot of
right.
guys, we've had a lot of linebackers on the show recently for whatever reason. For them, a ton of special teams opportunities, right? For linebackers and guys who are going to fly down the field and go make an open field tackle, right? Your skill set a little bit different. But if you can add layers to what you provide to a team and to a roster, you just make it that much more difficult for them to ultimately say no, right? And so the more you do, that's definitely going to give you a better chance. I wanted to know if there was a specific person maybe that's been a part of this journey. You talk about playing professionally and kind of the unconventional route you've taken to this point. Was there a person that helped give you your confidence to take your talents to the next level, or was a lot of that internal along the course of your journey?
I think, a lot of that was internal. I watched a lot of NFL film in those early years. Spring ball, when you get done watching the spring ball tape and you're not necessarily prepping for an opponent,
Of
pop
course.
on some NFL film. So I think watching that really just, put me in a good headspace. Like, I can play with these dudes, I think. And now being in the position where I know, I can play with these dudes. Marty Martin's my strength coach. He's been telling me for a long time, I think you got a really good shot. And at first, I think he's crazy. I'm 17, not even played a game of college football. He's telling me, I
Yeah.
can do a scholarship. I'm like, dude, you're nuts. But seeing, he's always, he tells me the hard truths, and I know he can always be honest with me. So when he's telling me, he thinks I can do it, I'm okay. I believe him. And then Coach Miller here at ETS, Gabe Miller, he's working our butts off, but he's also, pumping us up that much more. I think I feel as strong as ever. I feel as confident as ever. So yeah, it's two people, but those two couldn't go
Hey,
together.
that's okay, by the way. On that, you don't lose points for that answer. I'm sure both of them, appreciate you just as much the other way around, and I'm sure you've made an impact on them just like you have with the program over there, brother. So, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's next for you. Whatever that looks like. Definitely going to go earn a spot, earn an opportunity, whether that's here or somewhere else. You know what I mean? That's up to you. So excited to continue to follow along, man. That's all I got for you tonight.
Sir, I appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work, man. This is awesome.
Likewise. Thank you, Gabe. Okay, big thank you to Gabe for joining the show. Let's stay in Division II here. There's a Division II school in Colorado that is going to be paying licensed drone pilots to film practice and to film games. Colorado Mines, the Ore Diggers, made this announcement on social media with their partnership with FlyRoute. They said, quote, "We're taking practice film to new heights. FlyRoute Drones brings elite drone footage, FAA licensed pilots, and cutting-edge tech to help coaches analyze athletes, refine plays, and scout talent. The future is here." So, for those of you not familiar, Colorado School of Mines is one of the, if not the best engineering institution in the country. They also happen to be an incredibly talented NCAA Division II football team that has made the national championship twice in the last 3 years. The Ore Diggers do a lot right, and they have some of the best brains in the country on campus. This tracks. This seems like a gimme, right? When you think about it, the idea of having FAA licensed drone pilots, if you can afford it, at practices, at games, providing additional angles, additional footage, and providing just a whole new wrinkle to what coaches are able to observe. And filming practice and everything of the sort has always been something that can separate a team in terms of their preparation. And I've got some examples here from the Fly Route website that I wanted to showcase. So this is, I'll just put it up on the full screen here. There's the end zone cam on the left. The drone film is on the right, and it's showing the same footage, the same plays, of course, from the different perspectives. So you can see it looks like the drone is stationary, giving a much higher viewpoint and perspective, while the camera, while I'm not sure if it's automatically moving or if that is moved manually by the pilot, I would imagine it's the latter of those two, is tracking the plays. And again, right off the bat, anyone who's ever played football or prepared football, been in the film room, you know what I mean, prepping for an opponent, this is really valuable stuff. From a coach's perspective, to have this angle and this vantage point, especially when it comes to things like this in special teams, man, this is great stuff. Being able to go through and highlight things from this angle is going to be super important. But some more info on this. They film practices and games, primarily football and lacrosse. Those are the two biggest kind of consumers for this Fly Route drone company. They upload everything to a team's Huddle or other service. They are partnered with a couple different services, but Huddle is obviously highlighted as one that a lot of teams use at the college level. One thing that did shock me when looking at this, I'm going to pull it off the screen here for a minute, so you could just, this is crazy. They have on the website a piece about, quote, sideline replay system integration. That could be game changer. Where a lot of you watching this may not know, Division II conferences such as the RMAC, where Colorado School of Mines currently competes, the RMAC, the GLIAC, the Gulf South, and the MIAA are pushing the envelope when it comes to instant replay. Last year was the first year for a lot of conferences experiencing the addition of instant replay. Now all these member schools have to supply different angles for replays on things like targeting and other big-time penalties. Coaches get a challenge now at the Division II level in these conferences, and then I believe it was the semifinals and onward in the national playoffs. Don't quote me on that one. But when you talk about sideline replay system integration and a referee and official being able to reference these same angles when they go into the little, booth on the side of the field or whatever it is, they can come in and reference this as a part of the array of camera angles that they have. You are providing a whole nother layer to the officiating crew, but also just the game day experience and just the production level when it comes to D2 football. And it's an underappreciated and kind of a niche thing. But to have a sideline replay system that incorporates aerial footage, that's seriously impressive. And the more I watch this, the more I think, this is a really, really valuable tool. And I think there are going to be a lot of other programs across the NCAA, potentially NAIA. This is a program and a company based in Denver, so Colorado Mines, right in their geographic footprint right there, makes a lot of sense. But the way they have this program set up, I'm pretty sure you can get an FAA licensed pilot wherever and have them work through the company and work with the prospective team. So don't be surprised, I guess is what I'm saying. Don't be surprised when this system comes to a lot more big-time college teams. The ones at the highest levels, I'm sure, are already doing it. Don't get it twisted. I'm sure the D1 teams have people. A lot of their stadiums are so high up anyways, they can get a similar shot. I'm sure they got people already doing the drones at practice. I'm not naive enough to think this is the first team to ever do this in the history of mankind. What is neat about this is that there's an outside company offering that service specifically catered to athletic programs and integrating that seamlessly so it would seam into their huddle and film organization systems. And then on top of that, you had the sideline replay system. So some really cool stuff out of Colorado Mines. That's it for me today, though, when it comes to D1 Rejects. I appreciate you guys listening. Got a couple other really big episodes coming up, and I don't know how to phrase it. If it were Pat McAfee, who I'm a big fan of, it's the reason I started the podcast, we would say for D1 Rejects, it is hashtag up to something season. We've got something cooking here for the fall that I don't want to get ahead of myself with, but I think a lot of you are going to be thrilled about, and something that I want to bring more excitement and energy to the beginning of the season for D2 college football, and that's all I'll say. And with that, that's the episode. Thank you for tuning in.